Hello, everybody. It's about that time. Let's go see what's in the fridge today. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Today's beer comes from Copperhead Brewery. These guys are out of Conroe, Texas. This was sent to me by Brandon C. down in Texas. Brandon, my brother, do appreciate you sending this to me. Hope everything is well down there with all the things going on with Hurricane Harvey and the flooding and the catastrophic devastation. Hope you're well, my brother. This is an American Stout, Imperial Stout, Double Stout, whatever you want to call it. 10% ABV, 50 IBUs. Should be a very tasty beer, guys. Commercial description on this, it says, Black Venom is our Imperial Stout, solid black, chocolatey and roasty, but with some smooth, creamy finish. This stout is great while fresh, but will age wonderfully. I've done several beers that he has sent me, and I actually got my hands on some that I bought in North Carolina a couple of years ago. The ones I bought down there wasn't very impressive and seemed to be more transitional beers than anything else, and a lot of breweries do those transitional beers. But some of their bigger beers, and like this, the 10%ers and stuff, when brewery first starts getting started up, they do a lot of transitional beers, and then they find their niche in the market, and even Sam Adams does that. I mean, they've done a lot of, I don't want to call them mediocre beers, but they're good transitional beers. That's what got me into craft beers. Their Boston Lager, first time I tasted that, I thought it was the hoppiest thing I'd ever tasted. Now I can't even taste the hops in that beer. So it depends on where your palate is, and you need to transition into those style of beers, especially if you're drinking the micro lagers, or Bud, Coors, Millers, into something a little lighter, a transitional beer, and then work your way up to something more hoppy or more ABV or whatever the case may be. I ain't had this yet, and if I'd have had this beer 7, 8 years ago, it would have probably blown my little palate out of my little mouth, or my big mouth. But now that I've had this many beers as I've had, these beers are very tasty usually to me. So we're going to find out what this one brings to the table. It all depends on where your palate is. If you're going from a Bud Miller or Coors into something that's super hoppy, an IPA or a double IPA or an Imperial Stout or a bourbon barrel aged version of that, it is going to kick your ass all around the room. It's going to put your face down in the dirt, and you're probably not going to like it. You have to work your way up to these bigger Imperial versions and hoppier beers. It's not something you can just jump into from a micro lager, guys. It's just 9 out of 10, 99% of the people can't do that. They have to work their way up to it. That's what you got to do. So you wouldn't want to go from a Bud Miller or Coors into something like this. It's probably not going to work, and you're probably not going to like it. So, but where my palate is at, I do like these great big Imperial Stouts and bourbon barrel aged versions and stuff, and super hoppy beers. If I'd have had something like a Stone Enjoyed by Series 8 years ago, it would have killed me. I probably wouldn't have been able to drink it. But now, they're very tasty, and now with the New England style coming down, which is even more hoppier and more of a juice bomb than those are, you got to work your way to it. I mean, you can't just jump into it. So I've read the commercial description. We got the ABV, we got the 50 IBUs. If I didn't say that, 10%, 50 IBUs. So let's get it on. Let's do it. Let's get the cap off of this thing, get it into the glass. See what we got? Let's listen. Little hit, not much at all. So let's get it into the glass and see what we got. This should be very dark. Coming out pretty dark, and I will tell you, well, this thing's going to go crazy on me. Yeah, computers, you gotta love it. Alright, while I'm pouring this, I'll tell you the cheese is buttery, brie good Havarti Swiss. Goes well with your chocolate dishes, of course. And says digestive meat, smoked meat, game, and grilled meat. Glass shot of pint, backer 9 tumbler snifter, oversized wine glass. I got my favorite snifter. And can be settled for a long period of time, guys. They've added no coffee or anything like that's going to fade over time. It's not bourbon barrel aged or barrel aged version of this. So should be very nice. And it looks pretty dark in the glass. Over to the light, I'm not seeing a whole lot of light at all. Maybe a slight hint of some red ruby mahogany color around the thin part of the glass. A lot of times in the stouts, especially the Imperial Stout, you won't get that. So, it's not super black, but it is a dark beer. And while I've been flapping my gums, we got about a quarter finger of head on this glass. Let's get it to the nose. Brandon C. sent me this beer. Thanks a bunch. Wow, I'm getting a little bit of coffee notes, and it doesn't say anything about any kind of coffee done in this beer, but I am getting a little bit of coffee. Rich roasted malt, black molasses, caramel, toffee, maybe even some chocolate-covered cherries. Coffee is a little surprising. I am getting some coffee on it. Smells very nice. Let's dive in. Final beer of the evening for me. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Brandon. Guys, I swear I'm getting coffee on this. Wow. It does not say anywhere about this thing being brewed with coffee. And I didn't look at any kind of dating. I'm not seeing anything with the beer having a big sweatiness to it now that's out here, but I will look at the bottle, see if there's any kind of dating on it. But this is in 10% Imperial Stout. Doesn't say anything about coffee on it, but I am getting that. I swear I am. That's tasty though. It is real tasty. A lot of these brewers, like I said, they found their niche in the market, and and even around here, the local breweries, they brew a lot of beers that are transitional beers. They're trying to get the macro drinkers into something with just a tad more taste, but not enough to blow their palate out of their mouth. The problem with that is they're getting those drinkers into something better, but the seasonal drinkers, they're not producing stuff that satisfies our palate. And a lot of times you can go to the brewery and get stuff that they've done barrel aged or stuff, but they don't bottle or can those particular beers. And that's the way it is around here. You can go to the brewery and find something a little more impressive, but the ones they usually bottle and send out to the grocery stores and some of the beer stores are more transitional beers around here. So this is pretty appealing. This is very tasty, but it's right out of the fridge, 40 degrees. Like I said, when I come back, I will look and see if you find any kind of dating or anything on the bottle. But right now, I am getting coffee, so let's let it warm up, let her taste it, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. Got just a little left here. Looked at the bottle when I come back. There's no vintage or dating or anything on it. The dating is not that critical on the style of beer, but I would like to see a vintage on it. Tell me about 2015, 2016, 2017. When was it put in the bottle? Not that hard to do. I'm still getting coffee notes on this beer, guys. I don't know why. That does not say anything about any coffee in this beer, but I am tasting coffee and smelling coffee. I swear. I am not lying, but I am getting coffee notes on this beer, and I don't know why. I should be. Coffee on the nose, coffee on the taste. It's a well-made beer. The alcohol at 10% is very well hidden. It's a well-made beer, guys. If they would put something about a vintage or something like that on, and it was available here, I think it does come to North Carolina, but it doesn't come to Virginia. I've not seen it here. I would probably buy it if it would put a little more information in if it was available in Virginia. I enjoyed this. Alcohol is super well hidden for 10%. A very enjoyable beer. Especially having the coffee notes that I'm getting, and it doesn't say anything about having coffee in it. So, and I'm a coffee fan. I like coffee in the morning. Very nice. Final joke. Nicely done beer, guys. Very tasty. A great final beer of the evening, which it is for me. Rich roasted malt, caramel, toffee, bittersweet chocolate, coffee, hints of some dark fruit in there. Very nice. Very well done. Very impressive beer. We just need a little more information from these guys on the bottle. And like I said, it has no wraparound label here. If they want to keep using these bottom labels year after year and not put the ABV or anything on there, they could do that on a rear label or upper label here and put the vintage or the ABV on it. There's nothing on the bottle. It's a very nice label, kind of dark-esque. Oh. And it's got it in very tiny letters here. I just seen that. 10% alcohol by volume. So it is telling us it's 10%, but it's written so small, it's very hard to read unless you're really examining the label. And it's black with deep purple writing on it. It amazes me sometimes these guys do this with the dark graphics and you can't see what's on the bottle. But it does have 10% on it, so they did put the ABV on there, but it doesn't have a vintage or anything on it. I would like to see that, and it's a 10%, so it's not super critical, but yeah, maybe you want to do a 2014 and a 2015 vertical, or 16 or 17 with an older version. It's just me, just my OCD, guys. Put the vintage on it. A month would help. Tell me you did this in June of 2017 or 2015 or whatever. The day is irrelevant on this style of beer. But I would like to see a vintage on it. And they choose not to or don't have the capability. I don't know how big that Copperhead Brewery is, whether they have a dating machine or some way of doing that. I understand them wanting to use sometimes the labels over and over for year after year after year for producing the same 10% beer. But would like to see something on there to let us know that. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's a great beer. It's a very tasty beer. I think this is an A- beer in a B+ bottle. That's where I'm going to put it. For me, guys, 89. That's where I'm going to put this beer. Over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate says 86. So we're pretty close. Couple numbers away from what they're saying there. And they're saying it's a very good range. And it is a very good beer. Alcohol is super well hidden. Well-made beer. Over to Untappd. They have it at 3.98. That is their B+ A- scale. I don't really like to consider it A- till it gets to the 4 range. So when it says 3.98, I'm saying that's B+. I think it's a little bit better than that. It's a very tasty beer. That's why I gave it the A-. It's all relevant to what your palate, where your palate is at, and what you like to drink. There's a lot of people who don't like dark beers, and oh, I'm afraid of the dark. That looks like motor oil. No, I can't drink that. you'll get accustomed to it. If you drink it long enough and you experiment with that and start in with something like a porter, a lower ABV, and then a stout, and then your bourbon barrel aged versions and stuff, you got to work your way up to it. So let's wrap it up on this one. If you've had this from Copperhead Brewing, their Black Venom, which is an American Imperial or a double stout, let me know what you think. Until we meet again, let's go see what's in the fridge.